in corporate America, the first place that they add diversity to the board is with a white woman.
Right.
And that has a distinct impact on the operations of corporations. So when you look at where we are in terms of business and race, you know, kind of give me your take of what do we need to improve?
Well, when I think of business, I think of it in two different veins. I think in terms of corporate America, then I think in terms of female, African American, Hispanic, and Asian owned. That's a whole different conversation. So what you have taking place, which is pretty interesting in corporate America, you have a lot of folks who are no longer just enamored by the idea of working for this company for 20, 30, 40 years and going up the ladder. What you find is you find this younger generation who wakes up saying, own. I mean, they walk in saying, own. I remember when I was in high school, I went to a communications high school in Houston, and we had a television station, a radio station, and a newspaper in our high school. And the first day, we allowed us to go into the studio. It was the second semester of my sophomore year, and all the students rushed to the set. And so I was like, well, everybody rushing to the set. And I told my teacher, Mary Waits, I said, where does the person sit who tells them what to do? She said, well, they sit in the control room. I said, I'll be in the control room. And so from day one, my whole philosophy has been about, no, I'm going to work here, gain a skill set, develop my knowledge and base. Then I'm talking about owning. I remember I was sitting with Milton Coleman, the Washington Post. It was hilarious. Every year the Black Journalists Convention, you know, Washington Post has a huge reception, and you know, they want to talk to all the best and the brightest. I never cared about working for the Washington Post or the New York Times. I think you can do great journalism anywhere. So we're sitting there, and Milton asked me, he said, so what do you, by the time you're 40 years old, what do you want to do? I said, publish or own my own company. He says, well, the Washington Post is not the place for you. Now, a person could take that to mean that, well, we simply want people who just want to be reporters or editors, not somebody who wants to be an owner, or that was, look, man, you know, this is a whole different culture. I believe he made a mistake. Part of the problem in corporate America today is they don't look at the talents of individuals and say, how can this individual potentially create a new business, a new revenue stream for our company that we can help build? And then so we still have them in our company, but we're helping them build at the same time, and we create additional revenue. Every place that I've worked has made that exact same mistake. Oh, you're trying to do too much. No, no, God gave me multiple skills. When I die, I want to be able to say, dude, I used all of them. But so what's happening, I think, in corporate America, that is the mindset. You don't have folks who just focused on just staying here. No, they're saying is, how can I learn in this financial sector and create my own boutique agency? How can I create my own consulting company to create their own opportunities? And so I think that's very important because, again, they're not beholden to the old way of doing business, which is wonderful. But I think what you have in terms of your niche companies, you have some significant problems. Right now in the advertising community, when it comes to professional services, you have companies that are unwilling. They're saying, well, I don't even really need to buy WVON, even though it's black owned. I can buy WGCI. Well, WGCI is on my Clear Channel. All right, so you're not doing business with a black owned company. They say, well, I don't need to buy TV One. I can buy BET. Well, Viacom owns BET. Owns BET. So if you are not thinking in terms of how can I actually build this company, the problem we're going to have is who then controls the voices? Who then controls how you make the decisions? We all know, you talk about those companies. If you have an African-American company, Hispanic-owned company, white female-owned company, and they begin to grow based upon scale, the likelihood is they're going to recognize the lack of people in the pipeline, so they're going to pull those folks in the board of directors. All of a sudden, that becomes a feeder ground. That becomes sort of an incubator for those people to go on with Sarbanes-Oxley to be able to go on to other boards and things along those lines. If you remove that from the entire layer, from the infrastructure, then where do they go? Right. I mean, that's just like saying if you remove HBCUs and female colleges, what you will find is you will see a dramatic drop-off of the number of professional and doctorate degrees that are handed out. So we have to be very mindful of the damage that is being done when companies say, well, we can just sort of get everybody just by buying this particular industry over here. And so I would say the challenge of the people in this room, especially those of you who have advertising agencies, stop saying, well, that's our agency, they got it, because they don't. See, I keep telling companies, you pay them. See, people who I pay do what I say. I mean, that's just the way I roll. I mean, you know, that's my book. See,
right.
Nobody else, I published that book. So the dude who designed that cover, I wrote the check. So when I said, change that photo, I mean, that really was no conversation. It was like, I may need to change the photo. So I just want more people in corporate America to understand that although you might be an EVP, a VP, you might be a director or whatever, you can impact how your company also does business with firms outside by challenging and asking questions. Because frankly, if you don't ask the question, who will?